This happened a few months ago, and honestly, I still get nervous thinking about it. It was one of those moments that seems small at first, but sticks with you like a cold shadow. I work in a big office building downtown, the kind with glass walls and shiny floors that echo every step. I usually take the elevator to get to my floor because the stairs are long and kind of boring. Most days, it's just me, or maybe one or two other people in the elevator. One Friday evening, I was leaving work later than usual. The office was almost empty. Most people had gone home already. I grabbed my bag and walked toward the elevator bank. As I waited, I noticed a man standing a few feet away, near the other elevators. He was tall, wearing a black jacket and jeans. His hair was messy, and he looked tired, or maybe sad. I didn't think much of it at first. People come and go all the time. When the elevator doors opened, I stepped inside. The man followed and pressed the button for the basement floor. The elevator was quiet except for the soft hum of the machinery. First, I just stared at the floor numbers lighting up. Then, I noticed the man was staring at me. Not in a friendly way, but like he was watching my every move. His eyes didn't blink much. I felt a little uneasy but told myself it was nothing. Maybe he was just tired or distracted. The elevator started moving down. Then suddenly the lights flickered. The whole elevator went dark for a few seconds. My heart jumped. I could hear the man breathing, slow and steady, right beside me. When the lights came back on, he was still staring. I tried to look away, but his gaze was fixed on me. I felt like the air around us got colder. The elevator jolted and stopped between floors. The emergency light came on, casting a dim red glow over everything. I pressed the emergency button. The speaker crackled. "Building security. How can I help?" "I'm stuck in the elevator. Second basement, I think," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Help is on the way. Please stay calm," the voice said. The man said nothing. He just watched me. Minutes passed. The silence was heavy. Then I noticed something strange. His jacket was open a little, and I could see a folded piece of paper in his inside pocket. Without thinking, I asked, "Do you work here?" He looked down at his jacket and slowly shook his head. "No," he said quietly. I felt my stomach tighten. The lights flickered again. When they came back, the man's eyes were darker, like the light had disappeared from them. Suddenly, he reached out his hand. I stepped back, almost tripping. "Don't be afraid," he said in a soft voice. I wasn't sure why, but I wanted to trust him. Maybe it was the way he spoke. Calm, almost, gentle. I looked at his hand. It was cold, so cold it made my fingers tingle. I hesitated, then took it. His grip was surprisingly strong. He pulled me close. I could smell something faint, like wet earth and old leather. Then he whispered, "They're coming." My heart raced. "Who?" I asked, but he didn't answer. Suddenly the elevator shook again. The emergency light flickered faster, like a heartbeat. The speaker buzzed and went silent. The man's eyes locked onto mine. I tried to pull away, but his hand tightened. "I'm sorry," he said. Then the elevator jolted again. The doors opened, and bright white light flooded in. I stepped out quickly, heart pounding, without looking back. When I turned, the elevator doors closed behind me. I glanced around. The lobby was empty and quiet, just like before. I looked down at my hand. There was a strange wetness, like cold sweat. But when I wiped it, there was nothing. I wanted to forget the whole thing. But that night, I kept hearing noises in my apartment. Soft footsteps, whispers, breathing. I even woke up once feeling a cold hand brush against mine. I don't know who that man was or what he meant by "they're coming," And I still don't know why he got on the elevator with me. The weirdest part? The next day, when I told security about it, they checked the elevator cameras. They said no one else was on the elevator except me. I'm not sure if I want to believe them. Sometimes I think that mysterious guest was a warning. Or maybe a stranger who got stuck somewhere and somehow found a way to warn me. But I still don't know what or who they are. And I'm scared I might find out. I never believed in scary stories about strangers sneaking into your home until it happened to me. And it wasn't at home. It happened in my college dorm room. I was a sophomore at a small state university. The dorm I lived in was old and kind of rundown. The walls were thin, and you could hear everything from your neighbors. But it was close to campus and cheap, so I didn't complain. I lived alone in a single dorm room on the second floor. My window looked out over a parking lot, and the hallway outside was long and narrow, with a faint smell of cleaning chemicals and old carpet. Most nights, it was quiet, except for the occasional footsteps or muffled voices. One night, around 11 p.m., I was studying for a big exam. The dorm was pretty empty. Most of the students were out at parties or studying in the library. I had my headphones on, trying to focus on my textbook. Suddenly, I heard a soft knock on my door. I froze. Nobody usually knocked. People just barged in. I wasn't expecting anyone. I paused my music and called out, "Who is it?" No answer. Then the knock came again, soft but clear. "Hello? Is someone there?" I asked, standing up and walking cautiously toward the door. The doorknob turned slowly. I stepped back and grabbed my phone, ready to call campus security. The door opened just a crack. A man, maybe in his late 30s, was standing there. He looked normal, jeans, a hoodie, tired eyes, but something about him didn't feel right. "Hey, sorry to bother you," he said quietly. "I'm locked out of my room. Can I come in for a minute? I just need to use the phone." I shook my head. "No, I don't think so," I said, my voice shaking a little. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Come on, it's cold out here. Just for a minute. I promise I won't bother you." I felt a chill down my spine. I took a step back, keeping the door barely open. "I'm calling security," I said firmly. He frowned and started to say something, but I shut the door quickly and locked it. My heart was pounding. I pressed the campus security number on my phone. Before I could finish dialing, I heard him banging on the door. "Come on, please. Just let me in." The banging was hard, loud, and urgent. My room shook with every hit. I felt like I was trapped. I stayed on the phone, whispering to the officer, "There's someone trying to get in." Suddenly, the banging stopped. The hallway went quiet again. I peeked through the peephole. No one was there. I stayed awake the rest of the night, listening for footsteps, but nothing else happened. The next day, I told my dorm supervisor about it. She looked worried. "Did you see his face clearly?" she asked. I nodded. "Okay, we'll check the security cameras and patrol the halls more." But no one ever found him. A few nights later, it happened again. This time, I heard footsteps outside my door around midnight, slow, dragging. Then a soft knock. I didn't answer. The doorknob twisted slowly, then stopped. I held my breath. The footsteps moved away, but I could hear them returning a few minutes later. Then, the doorknob started turning again. But it didn't stop this time. The door creaked open. I rushed forward and slammed it shut. The lock caught just in time. I looked through the peephole. No one. But I heard breathing, deep and slow. It sounded like it was coming from just outside the door. I was shaking. Stayed on the phone with my friend, whispering and telling her everything. After a while, the breathing stopped. I didn't sleep again that night. Days went by. I thought maybe it was over. But one night I got a call on my phone. The number was unknown. I answered. A man's voice whispered, "You let me in." I froze. My hands trembled. I told the operator what happened and showed the call to campus security. They took it seriously but couldn't trace the number. The creepiest part? The door to my room had a scratch mark near the lock, like someone tried to jimmy it open. I moved out the next week. I never saw the man again, but I still get chills thinking about how close he got. Sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I swear, I hear footsteps outside my door, and I wonder if he's still out there, waiting for me to let him in. A couple years ago, I was house-sitting for my aunt and uncle while they went on a trip to Europe. They live in a quiet neighborhood in upstate New York. Big house, kind of isolated, surrounded by trees. It's peaceful, but honestly, a little too quiet at night. They asked me to stay there for a week, just to take care of their dog and keep the place from looking empty. I agreed. Free food, cable, and a nice house all to myself sounded perfect. The first couple of days were uneventful. I took their golden retriever, Max, on walks, watched TV, and slept in the guest bedroom downstairs. The only room I was told not to go into was the small guest room at the far end of the hall. My aunt said they had just painted it and didn't want the smell to get on my clothes. I didn't think anything of it. But on the third night, I woke up around 2 a.m. because Max was whining. He was sitting up at the edge of my bed, ears perked, staring toward the hallway. I listened, and that's when I heard what sounded like a light shuffling sound. It was faint, like bare feet brushing against the hardwood floor. I thought maybe Max just heard an animal outside. I got up, looked around, but saw nothing. Still, the hallway felt weird. The air felt heavier, like something was off. I shut my door and locked it, just in case. The next day, I noticed something strange. The guest room door, the one I was told not to enter, was slightly open. Just an inch. I was almost sure it had been shut tight before. Curiosity got the better of me, so I peeked inside. The room was completely empty. No bed, no furniture, just freshly painted white walls and a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. But something caught my eye. There was a dent, like a fist mark on the far wall. Just one, right at shoulder height. I stepped back and shut the door quickly. Something about it gave me a really bad feeling. That night, things got worse. I was half asleep when I heard footsteps. Soft and slow. Not from upstairs, from inside the house, from the hallway. Max started growling this low, steady growl I'd never heard from him before. Then he barked once, loud. I sat up, heart pounding. The footsteps stopped just outside my door. Then, I heard the doorknob move. It turned slowly. Thank God I had locked it. I didn't say anything. I just held my breath and stared at the door, expecting it to burst open. But nothing happened. Just silence. After a few minutes, I finally whispered, "Who's there?" Still silence. I stayed like that until the sun came up. In the morning, I checked the hallway. The guest room door was wide open. I called my aunt and asked if anyone had a key to the house. She said no, just her, my uncle, and now me. I didn't tell her everything. I didn't want to freak her out while she was overseas. The next night, I didn't sleep. I sat in bed with a kitchen knife and Max by my side. Around 3 a.m., I heard the floor creak again. Then, a low whisper. I couldn't understand what it said, but it was right outside my door. Then something slid under the door. I waited until morning before picking it up. It was an old photo. A black and white photo of a man standing in that same guest room. His face was blurry, like he'd moved while the picture was taken. But I could still make out that he was standing in front of the same dented wall, and something about his posture. It looked like he was facing the wall, not the camera. I called my aunt again. This time, I asked her directly, "Did someone die in that room?" She went quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That room used to belong to a cousin of mine. He had issues. We don't really talk about it." "Why?" I didn't say anything. I left that day. I've never gone back to that house. Sometimes I still think about that photo, and the whispering voice in the hallway, like someone was still waiting for someone to open the door. This is something I never thought I'd experience, and even now, it feels unreal when I think about it. It happened last winter, during the coldest days. I live in a small house in the suburbs. Nothing fancy, but cozy. I have a basement that I use mostly for storage. Old boxes, tools, and stuff I don't use often. The basement door is inside the house, near the kitchen, and it has a simple wooden door with a lock. Usually I keep it locked because I don't go down there much. One evening, I was home alone. My family was out of town for the weekend. I was making dinner and heard a strange noise, a faint scratching sound coming from downstairs. At first, I thought it might be a rat or something small, so I ignored it. But then the scratching got louder, like something was trying to get out. Stopped cooking and listened carefully. The noise was definitely coming from the basement. My heart started beating faster. I slowly walked over to the basement door and tried to listen. There was a soft tapping on the other side, like someone was knocking lightly. I called out, "Hello, is someone there?" No answer. Just the tapping continued. I was about to go back to the kitchen when suddenly the doorknob started turning. I froze. The door unlocked and slowly creaked open. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I grabbed a heavy flashlight and held it tight, stepped into the basement entrance and shone the light down the stairs. The basement was dark, except for the flashlight beam. I couldn't see anyone. The tapping stopped. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow move. I swung the flashlight down the stairs. There was a man sitting on the cold concrete floor. He looked dirty and tired, wearing an old jacket and jeans. His hair was messy, and his face was pale. He looked up at me and said softly, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you." My mouth went dry. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" I asked. He looked away, then back at me. "I was lost," he said. "I needed a place to stay. I wanted to call the police, but something about his voice made me pause. He didn't look dangerous, just desperate. I asked, 'How long have you been down here?' He shrugged. 'Long enough to know it's warm.' I looked around. The basement heater was on low, so it was a little warmer than outside. Still, I didn't like the idea of a stranger in my house. 'Can you leave?' I said quietly. He nodded slowly. I stepped aside to let him pass. He stood up, but looked weak. As he climbed the stairs, he paused and looked back. "I didn't want to bother you," he said. Then, just before he reached the top step, he suddenly stopped. He looked at me with a strange expression, like fear mixed with sadness. "I hear them sometimes," he whispered. My heart skipped a beat. "Who?" I asked. He shook his head. "No one can hear them but me." The basement suddenly felt colder. I wanted to say something, but the man turned and walked out through the basement door into the backyard. I watched him go. feeling more confused than scared. I locked the basement door again and went back upstairs. For the next few days, I kept thinking about him. I checked my doors and windows to make sure they were all locked tight. One night, I heard noises again coming from the basement. This time, it was faint breathing. I grabbed the flashlight and slowly went down the stairs. No one was there, just silence. But on the floor, near the corner, was a small folded piece of paper. I picked it up carefully. Written on it in messy handwriting were the words, "They are watching." I shivered. Who were they? Why was this man so scared? After that night, I never heard any noises again. But sometimes, when I go near the basement door, I feel like someone is standing behind me, like I'm being watched. I don't know if that man was real or if he was some kind of warning. All I know is that something about that night still haunts me. And I'm afraid I'll never really be alone in my own house again. This happened to me about 6 months ago, and it still freaks me out whenever I think about it. I've stayed in hotels a lot for work trips, so I'm used to the quiet, the elevators, and the little sounds of people coming and going late at night. But this experience was different. I was staying at a small hotel in a quiet town, about 2 hours from where I live. It was late, maybe around midnight, when I got back to my room after a long day. I was tired and just wanted to crash. The hallway was dark except for a few dim lights above the doors. It smelled like old carpet and a faint mix of cleaning chemicals. When I reached my door, I noticed the door next to mine was slightly open. Just a crack, like someone had left it that way by mistake. I thought it was odd, but didn't pay much attention. I unlocked my door, stepped inside, and shut it behind me. The room was small, quiet, and warm from the heater. I dropped my bags and turned on the TV for some background noise. As I was about to lie down, I heard a soft knocking on the wall. At first I thought it was the heater, or maybe a noise from the pipes. Then the knocking came again, slow, steady, like someone tapping. I walked over to the window and looked out, but the hallway was empty and quiet. I figured it might be someone in the next room, so I ignored it. A few minutes later, the knocking turned into soft footsteps in the hallway. Outside my door, I froze. The footsteps stopped right outside. Then I heard a faint whisper, like someone saying my name, but it was too soft to make out clearly. I wanted to yell or call the front desk, but my voice felt stuck. The door handle didn't move. But then I heard the footsteps move away slowly. I waited, heart pounding. After a few minutes, I decided to check the door. I peeked through the peephole. No one was there. I locked the door again and tried to calm down. Then, about an hour later, I heard something else. It was the sound of my bathroom door opening. I live alone, so no one else should have been in my room. I stayed still in bed, listening. The bathroom light turned on. I could hear the water running softly. I didn't want to move, but I grabbed my phone to call the front desk. Before I could dial, the water stopped. The bathroom door clicked shut. My phone buzzed in my hand. It was a text from the front desk. "Is everything okay?" I typed back quickly. "Someone is in my room." A minute later, I heard the bathroom door open again. I could feel my skin crawl. I grabbed the lamp from my nightstand and flicked it on. The bathroom door was open, but no one was there. I checked the room carefully. Nothing seemed out of place. Then, I heard a soft breath near my ear. I turned fast, but saw no one. I ran to the door, locked it, and called the front desk again. This time, they sent security up immediately. When the guard arrived, I showed him the room. He checked everything but found no signs of anyone else being there. I told him about the open door, the footsteps, and the whispers. He said it sounded like someone was playing a trick or maybe trying to scare me. He stayed with me until I finally fell asleep. The next morning, I packed up and left. I asked the front desk if anyone else had stayed in the room next to mine that night. They said the room had been empty for 2 days. No guests, no cleaning staff. I never found out who the guest was. The one who knocked, whispered, and used my bathroom. Sometimes I wonder if they were even human, or if someone was watching me from the shadows, waiting for the right moment. I still get chills thinking about how close that stranger got without me ever seeing them, and I still don't know what they wanted.